Now, if you're creating a sophisticated bot that's trying to assess what's taken place inside of the conversation, we've got some really useful tools for you here. And these are logical tools that allow you to compare two numbers or two letters or two words and assess. The bot will judge, are they equal, not equal, is one greater than the other. So by doing that, you can then build in all sorts of features to your bot based on controlling this logical possibilities. For example, you might want to send a message if someone's failed to make a booking after 3 attempts. You'll want the bot to have assessed that there's a point been reached at which it should step in and say, I notice you've having difficulty making a booking. Would you like to speak to a human? Or your bot might be playing a game with the human, or it might be evaluating a test with the human. This is going to be an important educational tool, for example. And if the score is between 12 and 15, the bot says one thing, 15 and 20, it says another, and so on. So these are really, really great tools. And they're a little bit complex to use, but you'll get the hang of them because the essential structure is simple and straightforward, like everything on our platform. And you'll find the guide to how to build in these logical assessments up here in the top right of your interaction. So you've created an interaction, and then let's say, for example, you want to test for equal to. So this is the form it takes. Inside of square brackets, you put the if-then statement, and it's if A equals B in this case, but we could have done not equal, greater than, or less than. Then the bot says what's in the text, which I'm just going to say, well done. And of course, the crucial thing is how you define A and B. And you can define them in lots of different ways. Obviously, numbers. So the bot can compare two numbers, and you can have negative numbers, you can have 0, you can have decimal numbers. That's all going to work there. But you can also compare letters, and read the documentation that comes with this video, and you'll see more about that and the importance, for example, of comparing letters in the Latin script with each other, because if you compare Latin to Greek, then it will spot that there's a difference. So anyway, letters, words even, and combinations of words can be judged for whether they are the same or not the same. So that's really powerful. And perhaps most powerful of all is when you define A and B in such a way as to refer to what's already taken place in the conversation, or a custom variable, for example, that the bot has been keeping score, and every time it's passed through a certain interaction, like a booking, it's added one to the custom variable. So if you're not familiar with custom variables and prior responses, you need to really go and have a look at those. They're easy, but you do need to understand them. But I'll just finish with these logical statements by giving you an example of how you might incorporate a prior response. So let's take this statement. So again, it's still the A-B statement. It's just it just looks a bit more complicated, because instead of A now we have extracted data with a little fallback message, and then instead of B we have 10. So this instruction to the bot is to compare the extracted data from an earlier interaction, 999 in this case, to the number 10. And if the user has entered a figure that's greater than 10, the bot will say, well done. So you can imagine that all sorts of possibilities now are opening up based on your ability to refer back to what's happened in the conversation and then assess the previous interactions against where you want to be here. And it just remains me to say that should the question fail, should the assessment fail, in other words, the extracted data is not greater than 10, then the bot simply does nothing as a result of this statement, and you'll need to move the conversation on using some other inputs.